BMitch and Finlay on 106. What up? What up? What up? BMitch and Finlay. We go for six. What up? What up? What up? What up? BMitch and Finlay on 106. What up? What up? What up? BMitch and Finlay. We go for six. What up? What up? What up? BMitch and Finlay on 106. What up? What up? What up? BMitch and Finlay. We go for six. What up? What up? What up? What up? BMitch and Finlay on 106. What up? What up?
BMitch and Finlay, one half hour, and then this afternoon after OTA practice, you're going to get to hear from a bunch of players. They just told us who will be available today. Marcus Mariota, B-Rob, Brian Robinson Jr., John Allen, Bobby Wagner, Farrell, Payne, and Biadish. So a lot of information coming your way from those guys. It'll be interesting. We haven't heard from Allen in quite some time. Probably last time John talked was probably with the Junkies, I feel like, when he had that interview at the end of the season. Joining us right now, though, as he does every Wednesday, is our friend, Mr. Neil Greenberg, sports analytics, data, fantasy for the Washington Post. Greenberg, what up, man? How are you?
I'm doing super. How are you?
I'm okay. Had a heck of a day. I didn't even mention to the boys that my air conditioner started leaking last night, but the good people at Crop Metcalf coming out to save me some leakage. Dude, what do you make of these NBA playoffs so far? I think Indiana got jobbed last night. I think they have a real chance of winning this thing.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did it to themselves with the turnovers, and I know that the coach kind of took blame for it too. But that's a game that if you're playing against Boston on the road, I mean, you have to win it. It's gonna
totally. You steal game one, changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, a game one win historically by the road team is very good, as it is for the home team. But just to be able to steal one on the road like that would have been sensational. Bonkers game, at the end there, it looked like Boston pretty much had it in the bag late in the third. But these playoffs have been great, and I think it's a testament to what the NBA has been trying to do, which is increase the parity. There's been a different champion over the past couple of years. We're having a first time, a new champion this year again. None of the teams have the MVP player, which I think is notable. So I just think that the NBA has done what it set out to do with the luxury tax and everything else, and that's create parity. And we're seeing a great playoffs as a result.
Yeah, you know what? We're seeing long series, but last night was an awesome game, but a lot of these games are just blowouts based on who's making threes.
Well, it's always been a make or miss league. I mean, that's really been the whole crux
True.
of it. And, I looked at I looked at the data a while ago, both for college and the pros. And, what sets apart these upsets, where the quote unquote worst team won is typically 3-point percentage. I mean, if they have an above average night and their opponent has a below average night, I mean, if you knew that going in, you can pick the winner with a lot more certainty. And that's just how it goes sometimes. And, but I think the teams that are advancing is what's notable. I mean, for me, like the worst part of the NBA a couple of years ago was knowing before game one that I was going to be whatever team LeBron was on versus the Warriors in the finals. I mean, that just makes for a very boring regular season. But now it seems like the regular season is going to take on a little more meaning because there are, non-top seeds advancing far in the playoffs.
Who do you like from both sides, East and West?
It's a tough one. I mean, I think Boston obviously is the team to beat. They have been for a while. I think the Mavericks could be sneaky here, but I think I got to go with the chalk. I do expect tonight's game to be higher scoring than the betting markets do, so I'm on the over there as I was last night. But I think that this
last
series
night
between
over hit with 10 minutes left in the fourth?
Yeah, I was expecting a big point night. I was on the ladder going up.
Nice.
I think we're going to see an over tonight too. Maybe not as much, but I think this series is going to be the more interesting of the two, only because it's a closer matchup. But yeah, I wish Indiana won just for the sake of being able to talk about it being a series. But with Boston taking it home, I think it's going to be a little bit more lopsided.
Yeah, if they had picked that one off, I kind of think the Mavericks might win. I don't know, man. I just think Kyrie is so good and able to control things in so many different ways. And if Luka could just stop the nonsense and he's such an excellent player. I actually, maybe this is dumb, but I'm actually really happy to see Gafford playing so well in such important minutes. The Wiz trading
a lot
him
of ex-Wizards are featured in the playoffs this year.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Wizards should have kept some of them, maybe.
Maybe. I want to ask you about this Blackburn guy that the Commanders just hired, but I want to quickly hit on the Pucks. You won't believe this, Greenberg. I actually have futures on the Panthers and the Oilers. So I am very much rooting for a Panthers-Oilers final where I know I'm cashing, but I'm also just rooting for Canada. I think it'd be so cool if Edmonton could win. What do you see in both those series?
Yeah, I think the Rangers had two tough draws. I think Carolina and Florida were the two best teams in the East. So they, if not for some heroics by Chris Kreider, I mean, we would have been, we might be having a different conversation. But Panthers are going to be tough. And, Edmonton has one of the best players in the game. Like you, I think it's good for Canada. It's good for the sport if the Oilers and in particular Connor McDavid have success. Not to say that he needs to be legitimized as a hockey player, but there are a lot of people that solely count, championship trophies more so than anything else. And I do think Canada's due for a title here. So I do think it'll be Edmonton, Florida. I think you're in really good shape there. The Rangers are so opportunistic, especially on the penalty kill. I think it's going to be a tough one, but like I said, I think it's been a tough draw for the Rangers in the second round in the conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that much on it. I kind of wish I had more on it, but I got the Oilers at plus 425 and the Panthers at plus 450. This was a future I put in during the first round of the playoffs, I think. But I don't know. I feel like the hockey playoffs have been so exciting. I've been watching more non-caps hockey than I have maybe my whole life, dude. I've been watching a lot of it, and it's the more you watch, the more you get into it. The more you start knowing the second and third line guys on Vancouver. You know, like maybe that's your world, but for me, it's not. So it's been really pretty enjoyable. Talking with Neil Greenberg here from the Washington Post. Last thing, and this may be obvious, right? They already hired Eugene Shen. There were reports. I don't know where the reports came from, but remember they said like Josh Harris wants to build this thing like the Ravens. So they just put out the press release. This guy, Blackburn, they just hired, was the Ravens director of college scouting. They give him a bump up. He's now director of player personnel in Washington. What do you make of the move? And now that we're starting to really see all the stuff come in, what do you make of the front office they're putting together?
I think it's been great. I mean, there's no salary cap on the front office. So if you want to create edges, the way to do it is front office, get the best and the brightest. And I would also say like biometrics. So like knowing sleep patterns and training patterns and health type stuff, like all that R&D stuff, there's no salary cap. So if you're going to spend money to get an edge, those are the two places where you can literally leverage a billionaire's resources. And I think that's the smart thing to do. And like you said, they're taking, they're taking institutional knowledge from a team that's known to be one of the best at team building. So they get a guy, Blackburn. He was a scout, and then he was a national scout, and then director of college scouting, and now he's going to be the director of player personnel. This is exactly what I thought Harris would do, what he should have done. Spend the money, get the people, and do the best to develop the organization from the top down that way, and then obviously from the bottom up with the coaching staff. I said this before. I'm really optimistic about what's being built in Washington. I think it's gonna be able to assimilate a lot of information from a lot of different sources, both scouting, subjective, objective, data, analytical, etc. This is exactly what fans should want to see, and I really do think it's time to stop saying, well, the Commanders did this before, or they've been, we've heard this before, or we've been optimistic before. This is completely different, and I think the fans are going to be rewarded for their optimism.
How about that? Glowing optimism from a numbers guy. Those sentences don't often happen. Greenberg, thank you. Thank you for your flexibility. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm an idiot and forgot my power cord today. So
I'm aware you're an idiot, but I love you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Text me some winners, all right?
You got it.
All right. That's our buddy Neil Greenberg. Give him a follow at Neil Greenberg. We got Dan Quinn at noon. Nobody go anywhere. Lambo, I have some important news to discuss with you, particularly.
Hit me with
you
it.
Available for a difficult conversation?
I'm ready.
I'm going to tell you something that I think you're going to be kind of mad. And I've already messed up today because I didn't have the thing.
Oh God.
So I feel like I should tell you this. Are you ready?
Yes.
I am currently, for the first time in my life, enjoying Raising Cane's chicken.
All right.
And I got to tell you, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never had Raising Cane's, and I know
delicious.
now. Yeah. It tastes. Tell me if this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken fingers usually taste different than like actual fried chicken. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Usually, like the type of chicken finger that you can typically buy frozen or that you got at the cafeteria in school, it's just a substantially different quality from what they're serving at Raising Cane's.
I totally agree. And basically, you know what? Man, what is that called? Like particle board, or like, you know, when there's like, it's something is sort of like a lot of cheap furniture you get from like the build it yourself stores is made of this stuff. And it's not wood. I think what they do is they gather like all of the sawdust and then like compress it into shapes that look like wood. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. That's like a normal chicken tender. It's like the scraps from when they're cutting the breast or something.
I think the chicken tenders are just the leftover pieces of white meat jammed together, whereas this feels like an actual piece of chicken that they cut up and fried.
Yes.
And now I do have one complaint.
I have a couple Raising Cane's complaints, so go for it.
Well, complaint may be too strong, especially because all of our mutual friend, our dear friend Greg, brought this to me, so I really shouldn't be complaining. But in a lot of capacities, complaining is the best thing I do. So I'm just gonna play the hits here. I'm not sure I love this Raising Cane's sauce. Like if it's a head-to-head battle between Chick-fil-A sauce and Raising Cane sauce, Chick-fil-A is smoking them.
I like the sauce. My problem is the fries. I don't believe in crinkle cut fries. Get some real fries.
I'm trying to go fryless. I do see the crinkle cuts. I'll try one, just for.
To be quite honest,
I like crinkle cut fries.
To be quite honest, JP, there is only one good Raising Cane's meal I've ever had, and that was in Virginia. So you're spoiled tasting it first in Virginia. I don't know why Virginia, their fast food restaurants, it's like they like to work there. Like they put a lot of love in their cooking. But the Raising Cane's I tasted in, I'm not going to say a specific location. I'm just going to say in Maryland, was not that good. And I tasted it in, in Portland. Yeah, it lost me there. Yeah, I think it's overrated. But once I got back to Virginia and we had it last year at minicamp, oh man, that's the best one there.
Well, it's like the great Popeyes debate we had, where if you're asking me, and the Popeyes, my number one Popeyes I go to is in DC, right by my house in Tenleytown. If I'm not going to that one, I'm probably maybe going. There's like one in Rockville. There's actually one near FedEx Field, but generally, remember that we had this significant debate between Jeff and I and B and Landfill. Popeyes, your food is that good when you can have awful service and people just expect it and still deal with it. And that's what you get from the Popeyes in DC and Maryland. But apparently Popeyes in Virginia, the living's good. Is that accurate, Landfill?
Yes. Yeah, that is correct.
Because it's off. You can't really take BMitch's version of events as gospel, because I feel like he doesn't always remember that he's Brian freaking Mitchell and that people roll out the red carpet wherever he is. The rest of us just live as normal schlubs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they see my 4-piece dark meat and they're like, we'll get to him. We get to it, dog. Whereas they see Brian and they're like, oh, would you like 8 free apple pies? We love you.
It's fresh out the grease and everything.
Yeah. Just different universe, man. So I wanted to run through the players we're going to hear from after practice. And Landini, maybe we can run some of this tomorrow because I think folks will want to hear it. I'm definitely curious to talk to B-Rob. Somebody's going to ask Mariota about, hey, man, you're going to be the backup now. Are you cool with that? And he's going to be like, yeah, I'm really excited. there's going to be some variation of that conversation with Mariota. I'm really curious to hear from John Allen because we haven't heard from Allen in a while. He said to the Junks he didn't want to be part of another rebuild, but I also think the emotion of losing, what they lose, 9 straight to end the year and going 4-13. I think he was just, I think that's an emotional answer. I know just from knowing him a little bit that he does want to play his whole career here. All those things really matter to him. And that he's, a native Washingtonian, native DMV guy anyway. And he gets to be home with his family and his wife's family and all those things. And I think John, if I had to guess, will kind of nail the tone today of what Peters and DQ would want from him. Things are getting a little ramped up here. So I'm watching players are now leaving the practice bubble where they had a little walkthrough this morning, making their way down to the practice field. Practice starts at 12:15, I believe. It might be 12:30. But it's going to be fun, man. The dueling 7-on-7s is a really cool drill to watch. I'd be shocked if they don't run a significant portion of that today. And coming up next, you're going to hear from Commanders head coach Dan Quinn. BMitch and Finlay, 1067 The Fan, high noon in the District of Columbia, points north, south, east, and west. I'm 30-ish miles west in Ashburn, Virginia. Commanders OTA is getting ready to go here any minute. We do expect to hear from Commanders head coach Dan Quinn here any minute. Here he is, DQ.
Practice, we call that like that's their time that they work on to get better. And you'll see Zach working through a specific route. You may see Wags, pulling somebody to the side and discussing a coverage or a concept to go. And so I'd say those are the small markers. And then off the field, if you'd ask one of those guys, take me through your process. And I think for a younger player, that's a big deal for them coming into the NFL to make sure it may not be exactly what Bobby done or what Zach has done or others, but there is a process that they follow. And that's a really important role for somebody just entering in. We're going to be playing football for a long time. And so make sure this is how I warm up. This is how I do things to take care of my body. This is how I study. And so those processes are really important.
Do you already see some of those younger guys heeding what they're seeing and learning?
Yes. And like what a value for some of the players at their positions to come in. And, you found out early on, and I'd asked, Ben, have you met Zach? Yeah, he already reached out to me. And so knowing they were already ahead of them before they even got here, that's what leadership is all about.
Luke McCaffrey's college coach says he's really hard on himself. He makes mistakes in games and practice. How do you kind of coach a guy like Luke, who's kind of a student of the game, son and a brother of a player, to kind of move on with things and not be such a perfectionist?
Yeah, I think that's true for all really good competitors. Oh, if I could just have that one play. It's true for coaches, honestly, as well. So really, it's about getting to the next play and knowing that, all right, whatever just happened, I have to take that information and move on to the next one. So finding those spaces when something didn't go quite right and moving on to the next play quickly, that's a really important skill. What we do know is that there's going to be adversity that's coming. And when you have the mindset knowing, bring it on. I know this is coming. I'm ready for that. Then you're ready to transition more quickly.
You guys have games Thursday and whatever. I know you've coached on games various days of the week. The NFL's going to Friday and Tuesday. What do you make of that? How hard a challenge is that for teams and coaches when you have games on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, all that?
I think we were talking about routine earlier and knowing that you'd like to set everything up, where I have a game. This is what I do on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday. And so when those games come, you'd really just shift. This would be like a Wednesday. This would be like a Friday. This is what we do before the game. So it's not as difficult as it seems. You have some travel that you have to work in, shorter weeks, longer weeks. But again, staying true to a process. This is how we get ready. That's to me the biggest piece of it.
On sort of that leadership front with a guy like Wagner, who you've obviously known, what specifically does he do? Is it more of a lead by example? Is he a talking guy? What is it he kind of does that helps?
I'd say probably a little bit of both. And what you'll find from him is this is a rare competitor. I remember, going on 10 years now or longer, me filming an install. So, as coaches, sometimes you film to see, how did I teach and how did it go? And I can remember that day specifically, it might've been the first day of an OTA. I had filmed it and went back home that night to watch it. And I was so pissed at myself because I didn't ask specific people the questions. In other words, Ben, what is this? And John, what is this? And so I'd ask questions and Bobby Wagner and Earl Thomas answered every question, as it come up. They just had that type of intensity about them. So I would say he is both. Pull somebody to the side to discuss it, think about it in this way, but he does it in his own way as a leader. And that's what I want he and Zach and others that are here to make sure they're here as ball players first. But when you look back on it, some of the people that mentored him, now that's a way to pay it forward. And so that's one of the coolest parts of our game is when now you get to pass that along to the next one. And the very best players do that. And I look back and was fortunate to, coach guys like a Bryant Young or a Jason Taylor and, others that has made the Hall of Fame. But there was this common trait of sharing that knowledge to the next. And I thought that was always one of the cool parts of the great players that were willing to pass it on to the next guy.
And with Emmanuel Forbes, just curious about his progress, but also you guys had him doing some punt returns last week. Just kind of curious, do you see that as possibly part of his future?
Well, I think right off the bat, we know there's more return opportunities. And so Emmanuel's got, ridiculous return skills as a defensive player of returning. So we wanted to add that part of it. Although he didn't do it at Mississippi State, that doesn't mean he doesn't have the traits necessary. So we got a big, deep crew now that we're working people both in punt return and in kick return. And so just like everything, we're trying to, find out what unique things a player has and how to feature them. That not only will be during this time of year. Can he be a punt returner? Can a safety come down to play dime? Can a tight end split out wide? Those are things that it takes time through training camp. One player may be able to, another player may not. And so it does take a little bit of exploring, but that's like our job as coaches to find any unique traits that the players have, and then how would we feature those unique traits, and trying to find the things that people can do versus the things that they can't do.
How is Jaden progressing?
You know, as we're getting started, like it's a big passing camp. So for the quarterbacks, they're getting some really good looks. You know, there's a number of coverages now that have gone in, you know, from the first day of where it was maybe just 3 deep and man-to-man. So to see that type of progress from he and from the other quarterbacks, I think that's good. In the weeks ahead, we'll add team things to it and blitzes and, you know, a pocket and that kind of stuff. But I think what jumps not only off the tape here, what you guys don't see in the meeting room is just the competitive nature and the learning and the command that he has already. And so that's something that speaks to his work ethic.
When you're a head coach and there's a lot of things on your plate, how much time, energy do you spend monitoring Jaden, checking in with his coaches, you know, making sure that he's on that development curve that you guys would like?
Yeah, and it's for everybody, really, not just Jaden, but to make sure, and I get, you know, the reason behind it, but each of the guys, what can they do? How are they making progress? So we debrief pretty much every day on a practice day, not so much on the non-practice days, and then featuring what other types of things do we need to add to it. So you may see post-practice, they're working one thing today and something different tomorrow. So you're always kind of tweaking and building that. And that's just how we do it at all the spots.
Sorry to hammer the leadership thing, but
it's one of my favorite topics, so bring it.
You guys as coaches can lead the way that you do and set the tone and culture and all those different things. How important is it to have locker room leaders, and what can that do for a team having kind of those veterans who can stand up in a locker room and say what needs to be said?
Yeah, the very best teams I've been a part of were really strong in the locker room first, and those standards that they create together, to me, that's where like the gold is. And so having ways to hold each other accountable, to push one another, to challenge one another, and that's what really being a great teammate is all about. Sometimes you're the mentor, sometimes you're the mentee, and it doesn't have to be young to old always either. It's, you know, like we were talking about earlier, a player now going to, you know, do some punt returning. Well, Crowder's a great person to talk to about that if you've not done a lot of punt returns or kick returns. So finding these little spaces to lead one another, push one another. Sometimes it's in the weight room, you know, to say, come on, this is a guy who brings that energy into that. Sometimes you'll see it on the field. So it's not one person that has to continuously lead in every way. That's what, if no one's leading in that space, that's a real cue. It's your time to stand up.
At this point in the calendar, how much are you paying attention to kind of organizing the depth chart and building chemistry amongst groups of players versus just having guys learn the offense, learn the defense, learn what they're supposed to be doing? And then how does that prioritization shift as you move through the spring and into the summer?
Yeah, so if you look, you know, big picture wise, there's certain parts of our identity that we'll be able to hit now. The speed, the execution of finishing plays downfield, the defense, the way they break, the way they run to the ball, like that's an identity part we're putting together. And I'm seeing, you know, signs of that moving forward. The things that we don't get to see right now are the physical parts of it. Like that's not what this time is for. So what areas and knowing what to compete at that time. So in this time, it's competing, man, can I learn these details and can I really go execute really quickly, communication. So not as much of the evaluation it is the learning to go, but I do want to see that speed and see the guys communicate and the chemistry that goes. But as far as the depth chart is, not really right now. That's not part of it. We want to get as many guys, as much reps as we can. And then as we get into camp, then we'll be able to start building that as we go, which would include the preseason games.
You've got officials out there today. I know they do the training camp visit. What do you like about involving them?
Yeah, and we're going to try to do it for every practice. And officials at practice also mean that we now have the ability to really put ourselves in situations. So you'll see some 2-minute today, but as important as that, this was an ICT. This is why they threw it. This is why they called, you know, offensive pass interference, whatever that may have been, of training the guys on what good looks like. That's a really important part of it. And so we don't want to create bad habits. So having the officials here is a nice check system.
Dan, training camp's right around the corner. Curious about your philosophy with joint practices, and if you have any joint practices that you know that you can announce or to that nature.
Yeah, so right now we have one joint practice scheduled with Miami, and so that will be there, and we'll work with them for a day. and then have our game. And we'll discuss that, with some other teams as we're going in to see if everything logistics wise can line up. But there's value in it to say just seeing other looks and people and formations and speed. And so there's real value to doing it. And so if we can, we will.
We see them out here. The viewers will see them out here. What's the expectation from the players as far as the schedule goes throughout the week? What are they going through?
So in the early part of the day, meetings and workouts. And so in the strength and conditioning side, different things on different days. And then we go a portion inside where we work a lot of team and go through blitzes and run game to that. And then outside, we really work there's a long piece on our skill development. And so as you're going through it, Chick, that's what this time of year is about, skills. And if you keep working those skills hard, then you'll be able to trust those skills when you put it into the certain plays and the certain things. So for instance, a defensive player may have a certain coverage or a certain way that he has to play. You work that skill for this specific coverage, and then we play it today. Offensively, there's a certain route that may go in. This is the extreme detail for that route, the movement, and that's how you keep working the skills, and then you put it into the whole play. So think of crawl, walk, run. And so the crawl part is the classroom, honestly. This is how you install a play. We like to jog through them at 50%. And then when we get out to here, we really am looking to see, is there a hesitation, or are they attacking it with the full speed mentality? So if you follow that process over and over and over again, it takes reps. Obviously, if you put in one coverage or one play one time and run it one time, by no means is that a play that you have. So it'll take reps over and over again so they can do them instinctively without having to overthink on it. And that's what I'm looking for.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. You guys have a great day.
Commanders head coach Dan Quinn talking there, addressing a lot of different topics. The one thing I would stress is when he talked about right now is not about the depth chart. It's just about getting maximum reps. When you see that, I don't know, say there's videos that get posted of Jaden Daniels throwing to, a third string wide out or something. Don't assume that means that guy's making a play or Jade. They're just running things fast. And I had a question that somebody was asking me if Forbes was running with the twos at OTAs. And I think it's entirely premature to base anything on what they're doing in May when they're running simultaneous 7-on-7 drills. So when we get to mini camp in 2 weeks or so, you might be able to get a much clearer indication of what kind of starting lineup would look like. But I think at this situation, May OTAs, it's just not. I mean, the coach just laid it out for you. This is not about depth chart work. It's about maximizing opportunities. I thought that was pretty interesting. I think DQ is doing a really good job of downplaying. Whenever there's a question specifically about Daniels, he kind of refers to the whole quarterback group. I think that is smart and effective. And I think this group is working hard to prevent what I've been calling the quarterback savior complex. We don't need that to take root here. And if Jaden's great, that's awesome. He's great. But they're going to try to build this as a team and allow Jaden to come along slowly. And I think that's by far a better recipe for success. I was curious if anything stood out to you guys, maybe the Emmanuel Forbes punt return stuff. I think in a vacuum, I find it really hard to believe Emmanuel Forbes is going to return punts. He's just really skinny, and the opportunity for a major collision frankly, would have me a little scared. But the theory there that we're just trying to find out if there are any unique things our players can do, I like that a lot, because if a guy has, and I think we'll kind of see a guy like Sennett that they signed, whether it's a straight tight end role like Kittle had in San Fran, or if it's more of a hybrid role like Juszczyk played in San Fran. I think we'll have to watch and explore and see what happens with Sennett, but that's the kind of interesting things. Or people want to project McCaffrey as a straight slot guy. I think he can do, we'll find out. They're going to find out if he can do more than that. I will say this, and I'm curious if you fellas agree there in the aquarium. The more Dan Quinn talks and leads this team and this organization, the more I like him. I don't know that means they're going to win games or not, but he seems so direct. Like, this is a little like inside baseball thing, right? But if anybody watched that stream today on the Skins put it out on all their social channels, you'll notice that DQ was at a podium, and the previous couple of weeks he has not been. It had been a little more casual the previous couple of weeks, but it had been kind of a mess, frankly. I mean, just from like a reporter standpoint, it was because the cameras are in the middle, obviously trying to get their shot, and then you have to stand off to the side, and it just, like, for the listener or the audience, they want to be able to hear the question, so you got to pass this microphone around, and there were just a lot of hurdles to it. But the reality of life in pro football is coaches tend not to care if something is good or bad for the media. But DQ apparently like recognized that it was just kind of a haphazard way of doing things. And he's like, no, let's get the podium in here. Let's, I think he I don't know. It's interesting. Like, he has been cool before about making sure that, like, he goes around and speaks to everybody involved. I know that a lot of people had a lot of hesitation. I know a lot of people only wanted an offensive guy. I don't know. I think DQ should be growing on you. Landfill, anything stand out to you there from DQ?
I guess I maybe would have liked it if they had set up a couple more joint practices. I know he talked about that and said they only had the one scheduled, but that was about it.
I think those are still coming. I think you get them with the Jets. Honestly, I think a bigger – I don't know this, but I'm going to speculate. I wouldn't even speculate. I'm going to guess at something, right? It's hard to set up joint practices when the opportunity of a home and home isn't there. Like, if you don't belong to a country club and you're constantly just trying to get invited to a country club, but there's no place for you to invite other people to, like, it's just a little bit more difficult. There's a Chief Washington Post snake photographer, Nikki Jabala. Nikki just tweeted out a picture. There's a 3-foot black snake on the walkway leading up to Commander's Park. So I'll get to take that on. I think the current situation is that they can't do a home and home for joint practices, and therefore it's harder to get them set up.
I did like when Dan Quinn was talking about making sure that he gets all the players involved when they're kind of in the classroom, so to speak, instead of just making sure that it's like one or two guys that is picking everything up. He's like intentionally asking guys if they're understanding, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. I think that's good.
That's smart, especially because what I would do when I knew teachers weren't going to ask me if I was paying attention is I very much would not pay attention. I would kind of just be there, and, you know, especially like in high school, I'd be like just trying to, I don't know, whatever it was, I wasn't paying attention. Jeffrey, anything pop for you with DQ? Okay, so
I mean, he sounds good. I'm just not trying to fall in love with, you know, his charisma and stuff with the media, how he's handling things. I want to before I say he's growing on me, I want to look at how minicamp is going and things first before I say he's really growing on me. But I do
were
like
you
him.
not in, okay? Were you not into him as a candidate?
I was actually, like, I was actually cool with any candidate. Look, JP, myself, like a lot of us, a lot of this fan base, we're just waiting for someone to come in here and make us winners, you know, coming to build a franchise that's not a laughing stock of the NFL. We're not the butt of the NFL jokes, you know. So my thing with this regiment going forward is it's the show me era. Like, I've been through the falling in love with the candidates, because even, you know, some of our candidates could have been wrong. We don't know yet, you know. So I gotta see it before I say I'm all in on Quinn.
Fair, but I'm going to tell you something that I am all in on, and I don't even have to see it. Omaha Steaks, baby. Twice a year, I get to do ad reads for Omaha Steaks, Christmas and Father's Day. And I get so damn excited when I get the email that it's Omaha Steaks season, because they send me a gift box to my house of steaks, hot dogs, chicken breasts, these little caramel apple tartlet things that are just phenomenal. I love Omaha Steaks. You should too. Here's the thing. Father's Day is coming. When you hear me start talking about Omaha Steaks, it means Father's Day is coming. And do not buy your dad a tie. Do not get him a pair of socks. It's so easy. You go to omahasteaks.com and you get him world-class steak. The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to put a smile on the big guy's face this summer with hand-selected packages like the Deluxe Father's Day gift. For just $89.99, the package includes a mouth-watering assortment of Dad's grilling favorites like the Butcher's Cut top sirloins, boneless pork chops, deli-style gourmet jumbo franks. They're the best hot dogs you're ever going to have in your life, and I stand on that. Plus, you get the Omaha Steaks burgers. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use promo code JP at checkout to order the Deluxe Father's Day gift and get 4 additional burgers absolutely free. That's 24 unforgettable entrees for just $89.99 when you use the promo code JP at checkout. If there's one thing I know, Father's Day, I want steak. Don't wait till the last minute. Go to omahasteaks.com, use the code JP, and get the Deluxe Father's Day gift today, plus the 4 free burgers. Omaha Steaks is America's butcher. on 106. Shout out to Greg Dodson. Makes bangers like this. Nats had a rough one last night, man. 10-zip to the Twinkies. They get them another chance today, 1 o'clock. Stay here, listen to Charlie and Dave and the boys. Nats baseball coming your way in just a few minutes. I assume, is that why Toby Altizer is gracing us with his presence? Because there's a baseball game coming on?
That could be, yeah. He's not actually here, though.
I bet he's in the red box. I bet he's over at Nats Park.
Probably.
Now, is this our first early day of the year for a Nats game?
I think we had one a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but we got off at like 1:48 instead of 1:53. Right?
I think there might have been another one where it was like a half an hour or something. But, I mean, this is like the first. It feels like this is the first real one.
Well, listen, happy first early day off for us for a Nats game of the season.
Yeah.
Now, we do need to talk to camera and see what we can do about some rain out double headers. But that's, we got time. We're going to enjoy this. It's May. It's beautiful weather outside. I believe I've made it the whole 2.5 hours tick free today. And Levo, I gotta tell you, well, I've been here the whole time. I just wasn't on the air for an hour of that time.
Yeah.
Levo, I do have to tell you, my calves look terrific today, man.
You see, this is why Lurch has those dreams.
You want me to drop a picture in the here? I got you.
Nah, we good.
Yeah, we don't really need a picture.
Jeff, give me an honest response to my calf, dude. And let me say one thing about white dudes: our calves start very low because we don't jump all that high. So don't judge that, but just the definition, the form, they look good, dude. Just being real.
I promise you, I'm not looking at that picture. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the thread. We can start fresh tomorrow.
I believe it's Sharon is the saleswoman that is in charge of the Omaha Steaks promotion. I think Sharon should be happy. I've already gotten one confirmed order of Omaha Steaks, Landfill.
Nice.
It's from our, I don't know what you would call it. He's like our internet content guy, Lou DePetro.
Oh,
Lou. You know Lou?
Yeah, I know Lou.
Lou texted me. He said, yo, I just ordered my Omaha Steaks. They said they'll ship it so that it shows up an hour late and missing ice blocks. They told me it's the JP special.
Wow.
It's pretty good. Cut me to the core, Lou. Of course, if you actually order Omaha Steaks and use the promo code JP, you get a dope-ass box of meat. It's not late or missing parts. All right, Landini, should we make some bets?
Sure.
Let's do it. Okay, so what we got, Jeffrey?
Drab decided to wait till there's 2 minutes left in the show to talk to Jeff about something.
Yeah, but yeah,
Shout
that
out
just
to
made
Drab.
me lose my train of thought. I know JP.
That's a tough train to get back on the track.
JP and I hit our bets last night on Pacers plus 10.
Yes, we did.
I lost because I bet on the Nats.
Oh yeah,
that
Nats,
was stupid.
They lost 10-0.
Yeah, that wasn't great. Turns out the putting green wasn't the secret sauce.
Rooster somewhere taking a victory lap.
He should. We were wrong. We should have listened to the Rooster.
I got to be honest with you. I rarely listen to the Rooster. I enjoy hanging out with him, but
my Caitlin Clark hating is rubbing off. By the way, they've lowered the point totals for Clayton Clark to 19.5. So I'm going to take the over this time.
Give me the Mavericks plus 4.5.
I kind of like that, Jeff. Not going to lie to you. Greenberg has me liking the over in that game, but Bees has been all over this Phillies bet. Landfill, can I make a Phillies first 5 innings bet?
Possibly.
I'm doing it. Give me the Phillies first 5 innings. To be totally honest with you, I don't really know what that means, but Bees claims it's won like a 1,000 straight. Thank you to everybody who listened to the program today. Big thank you to Jason Bishop, Chris Kynard, the boys in the aquarium, and, of course, Neil Greenberg. Nats baseball coming your way next.